We waited for our sunny day, and we nearly got a sunny day, which it is so early now in the year that I suppose we can't really expect it to be sunny all the time.
Not yet, but it'll be sunny soon, please God.
We're here in your beautiful 7 acres. You've got big plans here, and I've been reading them, very impressed. I think it's the right time to, you're dealing with biodiversity, soil regeneration. You've got you're going to have like work hubs here. You're going to have the allotments. Was this something that fermented for years, or when did this all come to be?
The general concept was always there to do something in the role of kind of biodiversity, or particularly bees, because my brother's a beekeeper, my grandfather was, so I always had something in the back of my head that would be great to do, but never knew what it was. And when we started with the hub, we set up Hub 13 2.5 years ago. The next phase was looking at, we were planning on doing allotments, and not last year, we were planning to do them next year, the year after. But then when COVID hit, we had to close, so we said, right, we'll get something else going on. So I got this going on and kept busy, and because it was outdoor work, and started this last year, and now we're expanding it this year. And we kind of didn't really advertise, so this is our first stint to kind of trying to promote the whole concept of allotment growing locally. And with that, the biodiversity issue started to come in, because I kind of chair Newtown 2050, which is pushing the Mountains to Sea project as well, and we've just finished our study on that. And one of the things we're really pushing is biodiversity within greenways. So we said, well, we've got 7 acres here, and we need to start pushing diversity as part of our program for Hub 13. So we started off with grow and work. You're working down a Hub 13, you can take an allotment. You can, when you're in the office and you're working a computer all day, your head gets a bit mushed after a while. It's great to take a break, either just for your eyes, for perspective, or just to change the environment you're in. So we're encouraging a couple of the people using the Hub of Taken plots here, and they're just digging vegetables for an hour, going back to work. It's a great break, and it makes them more productive, and it just makes their day better. So we started developing that idea then. And
we'll take a walk towards the donkeys there now. I know you've got 2 friends over here we're going to say hello to.
I'll introduce you now in a minute. They're a happy pair to pair them. The idea started to grow from there, and then my brother in the States, he was married to a Polish woman. I was talking to him about it, and he says, they have that idea in Poland, what you're thinking about. And I got talking to a friend of mine, a landscape architect, and he put me onto the Danish process of allotments, which are much different than ours. They're much bigger. So we started looking at how to design a landscape around working remotely, community allotments, and having a little space in the country. So these 2 next fields, that's Stevie and Davey.
Ah, nice.
They're going to be this is their free to roam at the moment, but they're going to have a bit of company soon. We're going to start developing elliptical shaped small allotments from 50 meters to 500 square meters.
Right.
And we're looking for people who want to have a little place in the country. It's a small little spot, big an allotment. You could put a little garden shed on it. It's got a perimeter of, we're going to be using mostly agroforestry kind of approach to things, where everything you plant can grow, and everything you plant is designed to have an effect on the soil and reintroduce nitrogen and fixing components back into the soil, and then also produce interesting fungi. And there's a whole way of growing stuff that really enriches the soil much more than it is at present. Now, our soil has never been heavily fertilized. It was only fertilized for meadows and grazing, but we want to see what that regenerative process will do to the land. And then the backbone of the project is to get people growing their own produce, or getting back into the country and having a place to go to. And within that landscape we produce, it's going to be trees, shrubs, fruit trees, hazels, large trees, all different scales of growth. We're going to plant 6 remote working hubs, little small capsules where you can come and work. Data cabling, now that's subject to planning, but so far planning seems to be receptive to it. And current climate, Wicklow County Council are kind of starting to go, wow, okay, we need to start changing some of the way we approach things. And we're particularly lobbying that farms can be allowed to do this, because a lot of farms have outbuildings that are superfluous. They're too small for the way farms are working now. And rather than being knocked down, as a lot of these stone buildings are, repurpose them, give them another use. So we want to have a small little tourist part of it, a small little campsite, and 6 tenths or something like that, just to as an add-on. But the idea is we start creating communities, who can work, grow, live, go back home, and that their day is much more full than it is at present. Because I think the change that's happened with COVID-19, and I can see about 40-50% of us going back to work as we were, but I see the rest of us saying, I can work quite happily with this if I can get it right, if I can get the right mix.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to experiment with, is the work-living mix.
Now, we should say, I was reading up about agroforestry, and sometimes you think, well, these are all just new ideas, but really that goes right back to the beginning of farming. If anything, we're realising that the early days of farming had it a bit smarter than we do.
No, very much so. The change in the last 40 years in farming methods has got away from that way, the knowledge of different types of planting and how to plant and how to seasons and how to introduce various things into the soil to do various jobs. I mean, agroforestry it's very, very prevalent, especially in Asia. It's a natural way of life. You plant a particular way to benefit soil and yourself and shade and stabilize water, and it's one of the reasons we're having so much flash flooding is that we've taken all that growth away from river edges and stream edges, and the water, of course, will just flow across surfaces. There's nothing to hold it in place.
There's even happening now, the cliff walk, there's a lot of water damage just coming down and causing mudslides, and again it's almost having to think about redesigning the farming that's going on and how the land above the cliff walk is being used. And
no, absolutely. It's there is a to me there's a natural solution to a lot of things. One of our problems that we have is that we want it done instantly.
Right.
Where the natural solutions take 10-20 years to stabilize and stabilize soil in particular, they're not sought after anymore. We go for engineering solutions of built forms and structure and concrete. But we wanted the farm here is too small to be commercially viable.
Right.
But there's no way we ever want to sell it or develop it. We want to do something like this. So I actually started off looking at maybe farming rabbits, because I said, well, if we can't farm cattle or sheep, we'll bring the animals smaller. And then I realised that might be a bit too much now.
They're very hard to herd, those rabbits.
Hard to herd. But the thinking brought me into this kind of way of thinking, and I said, actually, you know what? There's another way to do this, and this kind of started developing in my mind, and it kind of crystallised last year. It's great what a pandemic can do for your mind, but get you thinking.
That idea too of when it comes to the beautiful idea of the glamping and the allotments and the work hubs and all that, do you have a sort of a definite idea of, well, this will be 5 years or it'll be 10 years or it'll be an ongoing kind of a project?
I'd say 5 years is what's going to take it to get off the ground. And
hello ladies, we heard you. Hello ladies, are you well?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Kate and Anna.
Yeah.
I'd say 5 years. It'll take. I'm in the process of designing at the moment. We've appointed a landscape architect, and I'm an architect myself, so between us we'll work it out. Then I've got FRI5MAR21, he's a specialist in wastewater treatments and natural forms, and then I've a French traditional carpenter who's going to help with the how to build the forms in a natural way, well, natural materials actually.
Yeah.
Green oak and stuff like that. And we'll come up with a master plan, and then we'll start developing piece by piece, and then we'll go to planning to Wicklow County Council for the position of the remote working hubs within the landscape. I need to build forms, for we want an outdoor kitchen, we want an outdoor place to cook, bathroom facilities, those kind of things to help anybody who's going to be working here. We have to have those facilities.
Yeah.
And then we who knows where it'll go. We'd like to have a bushcraft school, forest school, I don't know. See what happens,
Nice.
Build it and see what happens.
We should say some of the jigsaw puzzle is already happening. We've got the allotments have started over here. So I don't know whether people are these friends of yours, or are people getting in touch already in regard to the allotments? How is the what's the timetable there?
Come on down this way, Paul.
Yeah.
I was going to introduce you to the lads, but they've gone off there looking
Well,
for
Max.
something else. Oh, Max is there.
He's having a look around, see what he can find any spare food lying
I'll
in
let
there.
him mooch around there. He can't come to any harm, but I think the gate is closed.
I think he's
It
alright.
is,
He's
yeah.
generally alright.
Yeah, grand.
Come here, you Wally. But yeah, I see it started here now.
So this is all word of mouth. This is
Right.
talking to you is our first bit of advertising we've ever done,
Okay.
and we weren't ready for a lot of people being interested, but now we are. What you can see there where the fencing is there's 8 different lots in that one. There's 2 large ones at the back that 3 chefs have taken. They're growing a lot of their own stuff for themselves and just to try different herbs and different stuff for
Nice.
their chefing. These next 2 bays are about to be rotated next week. They've been manured last year, So we've left them kind of maturing, so when they get rotivated, there's really good soil quality in it and plenty of nutrients in it, and there's pH level here is 6.5, so it's good for growing just about anything. So if you add to the soil or take away from it how you want to, you can grow just about anything here. So these two strips here, which there'll be another 16 allotment plots, we expect to fill those this year, and then we move on to the next phase that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
But that's, so far it's word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so far, everybody who's coming, A, wants to get out of the house, B, wants to grow veg, and C, has a general interest in just coming down with their kids, or just getting their hands dirty, or just loves coming to say, wow, what a place. I mean, it is a fantastic view. That's what we call the TírMór. It's the big country.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Well, that's a big country. Like, I mean, that's I didn't realise until I checked on the way over here exactly what TírMór means. So I'm sure Mr. Adamson and the rest of the band will be very chuffed to know that there's a part of the world named after their 1980s hit. I don't know what you'd call those guys. They were part of the 80s movement, but they were that sort of Celtic, I don't know, Celtic New Wave, could we call them that? The Scottish wave.
Sure.
But yeah.
What, the Waterboys time?
No, the Big Country. You remember the band in the Big Country they were called? And the Stuart Adams, was it Stuart? I forget Adamson. They used to be in the
still
Skids.
Going, aren't they?
Still probably going, yeah. I know
going?
Adamson, the lead singer, possibly still around. He was the guitarist with the Skids, and yeah, he went out on his own, had much bigger success.
Jesus.
But before we get too started, he was in the Skids. He was the lead guitarist with them, with that
they had
guy
a great
Jacob.
sound, actually. Yeah, in the Big Country.
There was a moment there they had the world by the. So in timetable wise, if people can get in touch obviously about the allotments, and then as you say, it'll be sort of step by step, then you're going to be putting parts of the jigsaw together, but it's pretty much started now, and the hope is that
it's the hub, and this is our main project for the next 5 years, and this is a 5-year process to get this off the ground, we think, and we're looking for expressions of interest, particularly for the larger allotments.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons we'll start this now, because we want to build it in a kind of organic way that it grows. As people more interest, it'll grow, because they're quite quick to set up.
Right.
But you have to have a kind of 2 or 3 month lead in to get it right. And that's where, so at the moment it's a question of interest we're interested in.
You're planting seeds now, that's the way it works.
Seeds now, and people can contact us on TírMór, TírMór at hub13.ie.
Yeah.
And
well, I'll certainly put all the links and the contact details in the piece itself. But also we'll come over again, and it'll be fascinating to see as the whole thing progresses, just how much of a change will happen. Obviously, a lot of the land is going to be the land, but the idea that you will gradually over the next 4 to 5 years, I'm sure, have a very different place.
Yeah, I'd just like to show you the methods we're encouraging people to use when they're using the allotment. It's called a no-dig method, so you don't end up digging all your time.
Ah, okay.
And so what we do, it's the best example of it here. Damien here has done this, and he's been potting plants there for, getting ready to grow. But what it does is you get a layer of cardboard,
right,
down on top of the growth. Like that was just like that down there. Level off the ground, put the cardboard down. He's put a bit of compost on it, but you don't need to, because the ground has been composted.
Okay.
Then you level it off with bark mulch, a ton bag of bark mulch, like those ton bags there. And that's it. You got no weeds. And you plant down through it, so you got nutrients with the cardboard and the mulch. And your seed or your plant goes down into the underneath.
Yeah.
And you got no weeds.
And that's is that relatively new now? Because I hadn't heard about the cardboard idea.
It's a permaculture idea. It's kind of I heard of it about 15 years ago.
Ah, okay.
And but it's pretty commonplace now.
I'm obviously drinking in the wrong pub, so I should have.
Very much so.
So yeah, as it is a good example now of it's up and running, and I'm sure it's exciting for you in regard to the fact that this would have been something you've been, as I said, been dreaming about for quite a while. And
no, absolutely, it's great to see this, start doing stuff like this and bringing dreams to fruition, and it's all down to the COVID. To be honest, it gave us that time just to stop and think about what we're doing and see what we're, and have time to plan, because life was pretty breakneck before that.
Yeah.
It was all full
I think everybody's had that chance to stop and think and figure out what exactly am I doing here that is useful to my good health and what's not.
Yeah, no, that's where we're going. And then the old carving sheds we turned into little potting sheds, and
nice
rainwater gathering into we have fresh rainwater then as well for anybody who wants to use rainwater. We're going to build a polytunnel down there now. We're just starting that next week, and so it's all coming together, and there's the nearest allotments to us, I think, is in Enniskerry. That's full.
Right.
The Roundwood one is full, and the Kilcool one is full.
Right.
And so it's a good time.
Okay. Great. And you do a mean cup of tea as well. We should
We
say
do
that.
a great cup of tea.